So like I just look at it as primary fascial lines and then secondary fascial. Primaries are the functional front, functional back, lateral, and spinal.
Okay.
80% of training can be covered from just really analyzing that part of it. The
So
secondary.
can you just pause there for a second? Tell us what you mean by those four. The frontal line is what?
So the anterior functional line is essentially going to run from the humerus or the kind of the pec girdle,
Yeah.
and then cover pretty much all of the abdominals, transverse rectus, some of the serratus, and then really kind of finishing off right here in the adductors. In which also, if I start at my right shoulder, I'm going to finish at my left femur. If I start at my left shoulder, finish at my right femur.
Okay. That's
so
the anterior functional.
correct, and that switch or that crossover at the midline
Yeah.
is kind of like right at the lower abdomen, almost in the pubic region.
Yeah.
The functional back line is going to start at the occipital and then work straight down the back, including all the rhomboids, inner back muscles, multifidi, the lats, erectors, and then kind of running down the backside of the thighs, down the backside of the legs, and including all of that.
Where does that go to?
And that's going to finish on the base of the foot, on the plantar surface. So again, and that's one of those. That's one of the more famous. Like, I think that was actually Todd Garcia's dissection. But that picture of from the base of the tongue to the toe is essentially a dissection of the superficial back line.
Yeah.
The lateral line is going to include. So actually, I should back up a sec. The anterior, the posterior, and the lateral lines all have insertional points at the humerus. So for the posterior back line, we have an insertional point at the occipital, but then we also have an additional insertional point at the posterior humerus, and then they kind of converge through that scapular region. The anterior functional line is going to insert on the anterior aspect of the humerus and then kind of work its way through the pec girdle. Lateral fascial line is going to kind of be sectioned right in between them, kind of in between the biceps and triceps, and then include some of the tricep head, some of the lat, serratus, oblique groups, and then the lateral hip muscles, include the IT band, and then kind of finish off after the peroneal on the outside border of the foot. And then the spiral line is the one that is extremely wide-reaching. It essentially touches on all those anatomy points, but now we're looking at more of kind of the healable patterning through the torso and then down through the opposite or opposing leg. But the spiral line is very, very big, and there's essentially nothing that doesn't involve the spiral line.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Trace it for me.
So for the spiral line, we are thinking from base of the sternum, and then we have a cross at the midline through the serratus and the obliques, and then we kind of wrap on the inner aspect of the hip through the psoas, iliacus group, down through the adductor group, and then kind of coming through that popliteal region, and then down through the peroneal, and then wrapping off that through the posterior tibialis. And I guess that's also a good one to note too. Like it really depends on, who you ask, what your perspective is, because there was a study done not too long ago where they were trying to prove, Tom's trains.
Yep.
And I think he shot about 50%. I think they were able to, reasonably or definitively say 6 of the 12 that he had identified, pretty good evidence that is, in fact, what we're seeing. And then for the other 6, perhaps not so much. So when you try to have this crossover conversation about conventional anatomy to this fascial anatomy, perspective is a huge part of it. And if you want to be somebody who is, myopic to what the conventional textbooks say, then this isn't really going to be welcome for you. It's a little bit abrasive. But I think if you think about it in terms of, and I know you hate this word, I'm not a fan of this word either, but if you think about it in just basic functionality of human movement, there is some intuitive understanding.